ASUS TUF F16 versus Lenovo Legion 5i. And the real question is whether the Lenovo is worth hundreds more, because you're mostly paying for a stronger graphics chip, a sharper OLED screen, and twice the storage. That's real money. So it only makes sense if it shows up in the games you actually play. Though buying the cheaper one and running out of space or frames in a year isn't a win either. By the end, you'll know which one fits you. Let's break it down. Frames first, because that's where most of the price gap lives. The Lenovo runs an RTX 5070 next to a Core i7-14700HX, 20 cores that boost up to 5.5 GHz. The ASUS comes in with an RTX 5050 and a Core i5-13450HX, 10 cores. And here's the detail worth stopping on, because both graphics chips run at the same 115 watt power limit. So the TUF isn't a strangled version of the same silicon. It's a smaller chip getting everything it can take, while the Legion is a bigger chip with that same room to breathe. The GPU difference is the biggest factor between these two, and it shows up as headroom rather than as a wall, since owners describe the TUF handling current games perfectly well at its own resolution. There's an opinion about the ASUS that lines up with that. I bought this as my first gaming machine, and I'm very satisfied so far. Apex, Monster Hunter Wilds, and League all ran great. The fans do get loud in the heavier games, but I use headphones, so I never really hear them. Where the Legion separates itself is the work that leans on the processor. One owner renders video and runs virtual machines on it, and describes the chip as seriously fast, and that tracks with a 20-core part against a 10-core one. If you stream while you game, edit, or compile, that's the gap you'd feel every day. All that power has somewhere to go, because the panel it feeds is a different class. The Legion carries a 15-inch OLED at 2560 by 1600 500 nits, full DCI-P3 color, and Dolby Vision. The ASUS, for its part, gives you a 16-inch anti-glare screen at 1920 by 1200 with full sRGB coverage. Both run at 165 Hz, so motion is a tie. The OLED is the better screen for movies, photo and video work, and dark scenes with real black instead of gray. But it's also more pixels for a graphics chip to push, and the matte ASUS panel is easier to live with under classroom or office lighting. One buyer mentioned faint brightness rings in dark streaming scenes on the Lenovo, though nobody else brings it up. A great screen doesn't help much if the machine roars an hour into a session, and neither of these stays quiet. Testing of this ASUS configuration found the fans loud enough to compete with the speakers during gaming, and owners say the same. The Legion is no library either, with owners describing the fans taking off under rendering and heavy games. The difference is control, because the Legion gives you performance modes on a keyboard shortcut, and people actually use the quiet one for work. One Lenovo owner keeps a cooling stand under it to hold temperatures down while gaming, which is one voice rather than a pattern. If you game on speakers in a shared room, plan around the noise on either of these. Both stay open for upgrades, and that's where the ASUS makes its strongest and weakest argument at once. 512 gigabytes fills fast with a couple of AAA installs, and owners add a drive early. You can, since it has two memory slots taking up to 64 gigabytes and a second M.2 slot. The Legion starts with a full terabyte and a spare slot too, but Lenovo lists 32 gigabytes as its memory ceiling. Both ship with 16 gigabytes, and one Legion owner watched memory use hit 97% in games before a second stick fixed it. That's the honest weak point of the pricier machine. Neither is a full day away from an outlet. A test of this ASUS chassis landed just under 7 hours. Legion owners call theirs average, and the Lenovo at least refills to 70% in half an hour over USB-C. On build, the Legion is the slimmer one at around 4¼ pounds, though the numpad shifts the typing area left and the black finish grabs fingerprints. ASUS says the bigger 16-inch TUF passes military-grade testing. Connectivity favors the ASUS more than you'd guess, with 3 USB-A ports, Thunderbolt 4, HDMI 2.1, Ethernet, and an infrared camera for face login. A Legion owner points out theirs has no fingerprint reader, no face unlock, and no card slot, plus the usual pre-installed clutter and a first boot BIOS update that drags on. So where does the extra money go? The Lenovo charges you quite a bit more for a full GPU tier, twice the cores, the OLED panel, and double the storage. The ASUS covers the same games at its own resolution for a lot less, and leaves you the slots to fix its storage later. One thing before you buy the Legion, check the listed memory, drive, and battery on the exact unit, because this platform ships in several versions. Here's the call. For most people watching this, I'd take the ASUS because it plays the same games you're actually playing and leaves you the slots to add storage and memory when you need them, which is the smarter way to spend here. That said, if you render, stream while you game, or compile code, the Legion's processor earns its keep, and I'd pay more for it without arguing. And if you want that OLED for color work or movies, nothing on the ASUS side answers it. But if you're buying this mostly for classes and gaming on a budget, the Lenovo falls apart on value, no fluff. And you, which one would you pick? Let me know in the comments. Links below in the description.